Welcome back down the woods. So today we're going to be going over right intention, or right resolve, some call it. And we're going to do that through a nice little apocryphal, semi-apocryphal, probably Chinese in origin, not really one of the Jatakas, right? One of the Buddha's previous life stories, as told to a bodhisattva, which we know already means that it was Chinese or Mahayana at the very least in composition, probably Chinese in composition too. So bear with me. I'm going to try and go through it as fast as I can so that we can get through and talk about what it means, right? Because the whole point of this is we're going to try, the whole point of this particular text, the story of the compassionate ship's captain, or Captain Great Compassion, which already we know is a Chinese invention. That's a Chinese name. That's the Chinese naming convention. But what it essentially comes down to is the Buddha is talking to this bodhisattva, telling him the story of one of his previous lives. And he says, and I'm going to condense it down just a little bit. If you want, you can find probably a dozen versions of this across the internet. It comes out of the Skill and Means Sutra. And it's kind of a fun little piece, because what it does is it gives us a very clear moral dilemma, right? And when you have a moral dilemma, your actions are really dependent on your intention. What you intend to do will determine how you do things, right? So we have here the Buddha talking about one of his previous lives. And he says essentially this: Bodhisattva, once upon a time there was a thus come one, the worthy, long before the thus come one, the worthy, the fully perfected Buddha, Dipamkara, one of his predecessors. There were 500 merchants who set out sailing on the high seas in search of wealth. Among them was one doer of dark deeds, doer of evil deeds, a robber, well trained in the art of weaponry, who had come on board that ship to kill them. Right? He was gonna wait until everybody had gotten their wealth, and then they were heading off to their hometowns with that wealth. He was gonna kill them, take all that wealth for himself. Right? So the merchants went out and they achieved their aims, they got their wealth, and they set about to depart. No sooner had they done so than the deceitful person thought, right, then that robber, that killer, had thought, now I will kill all these merchants, take all their possessions, and go my own way. The time has come. At that same time, among the company on board was a captain named Great Compassion. While Captain Great Compassion slept on one occasion, the deities who dwelt in that ocean showed him in a dream. Among the ship's company is this robber guy, of such and such a name, wearing such and such clothes, of such and such build. Basically, this is dispatch, right? for those who live in say the MP world, this is your dispatcher on the line saying, this guy wearing these clothes, of this build, of this type, look out for him. Follow. These deities of this ocean say, he is thinking, I will kill all these merchants and take all their possessions and go my way. So to kill these merchants would create very evil karma for that person. I mean, other than the fact that he's killing 500 people. That's crazy talk. But other than that, right, these 500 merchants are all bodhisattvas, and they're all just about to be bodhisattvas. And killing them when they are on that path, when they are that close, is going to put him in the great hells for as long as it takes for each of these bodhisattvas, each of these future Buddhas, to attain full enlightenment in their auspicious eon. imagine that number. You have 500 future Buddhas, and you can only have one in each world system, in each eon. That's a long time. That's a stupid long time, right? And so these deities in this ocean are saying, you gotta find a way to stop this guy. You gotta figure this out. Right? Get on scene, find a way, take care of it. Because you don't want that on your conscience either, because you know what would happen then. You fail to stop this guy when you know he's going to kill them, and he's going to incur all that incredibly terrible karma. You're kind of liable too, aren't you? Right? You are. So, mostly because you know, all right? You have that knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, if you don't know, then it could be argued that you're kind of in the clear, but not really. So then the Captain Great Compassionate awoke. He considered what means there might be to prevent that person from killing the 500 and going up to the great hells. 7 days passed without a wind, or with a wind averse to sailing. Without wind during those 7 days, he plunged deep into thought, speaking to no one. He was looking for a way to fix this. He was really trying. And ultimately, it came down to, he thought, there is no means to prevent him from slaying these people and going to the great hells, but to kill him. If I were to report this to the merchants, they would kill him and slay him with angry thoughts, and they would all go to the great hells themselves. You don't make a bodhisattva go to the great hells because they're angry. You just don't. That's terrible karma waiting to happen in and of itself. Right? And he thought, if I were to kill this person, I would likewise burn in the great hells for 100,000 eons because of it. Yet I can bear to experience the pain of the great hells, that this person doesn't slay these 500 future Buddhas and develop all that negative karma. I will kill this person myself. Moral dilemma here is simple. Either he lets the merchants kill this guy, or he does it himself. Either way, he's going to hell, right? Because if he lets these future Buddhas do this, they're all going to hell. And because he knew it and he could at least kind of stop it, he's going to go to hell too, right? If he does it himself, obviously he's going to hell because he killed someone, right? So he's going to hell either way. What's his intention here? What's right intention here? What does right intention look like? It says, I'm going to do the least harm possible given this terrible set of circumstances. I'm going to stop as much of this suffering as I possibly can. In that case, you take him down. Right? And so he did. Threw him off the boat into the ocean. Dude drowned. Dude died. Merchants went along on their business, right? Eventually in their time became Buddhas. Robber went off to what he had earned based on his karma. And the ship captain, the Captain Great Compassion, went to the hells. Or did he? Oh, now I'm throwing weird stuff in, right? So what this particular sutra says is, at that time, and this is the Buddha talking, at that time, in that life, I was none other than the Captain Great Compassion. Have no second thought or doubt on this point. The 500 merchants on the boat became the 500 bodhisattvas who will attain the supreme right and full awakening in their auspicious eon. The robber died and was reborn. For me, samsara was curtailed for 100,000 eons because of that skill and means and that great compassion. The great compassion there being that he took a look at it and said, I don't have any options. I wish I did, but I don't have any options. I'm going to make sure that the least amount of suffering that is humanly possible is inflicted, so that all of these, innocent bystanders who are going to be future Buddhas can live. I'll take that on myself. And because he took that karma on himself, because he took it and said, instead of letting him take that karma on himself, instead of letting them take that karma on themselves, I'll take it on myself so they don't have to suffer. That's a powerful act of compassion right there. And because it was very compassionate, it saved the Buddha, the future Buddha, from, well, really from going to hell for quite a while, right? So, let's take us a look at what right intention means. And here we're going to skip back to the Pali because it's so much more in depth, right? I gave you that story because it's a really good idea of what right intention can look like. And I'm going to contrast it against last week, right? But we'll do that a little later. So, as far as the Buddha was concerned, right intention is made up of three parts that are pairs of opposites. You have renunciation, desires, goodwill, ill will, anger and aversion. Harmlessness, harmfulness, right? These are pairs of opposites. Let's look at each of them. So, right intention should facilitate wisdom, should cause no harm, and should lead one on the right path towards liberation, not away from it. So, renunciation and desire, which one of these two obstructs one's wisdom? Obviously, desire, right? If you're stuck in the realm of desire, you are stuck not seeing the path, not being able to demonstrate or practice that wisdom. Because, I mean, hell, you're getting whatever desirous sensation stuff, things, you're getting, right? Goodwill and ill will, which one of these ones leads to harm for oneself or others? I mean, obviously, in the Buddhist context, ill will leads to harming yourself or others, right? Harmlessness and harmfulness. Look how I didn't put that question for these two. Yay! There's a much better question for that, and that is, which of these two, harmfulness and harmlessness, leads away from the path? Which one leads towards the path? Well, obviously, harmlessness leads one towards the path. Harmfulness leads away from it. Right? And in these, we can really see, in a lot of ways, we can really see the three poisons coming out. Desire, obviously that's greed or desire, right? Depending on how you want to translate it. Goodwill and ill will, there's your anger, your aversion versus non-anger, non-aversion. And then you've got harmfulness or harmlessness and harmfulness. This is a pretty clear delusion, right? If you delude yourself, you're going to hurt. If you're in an ignorant state, you're going to harm others. And here is where we see the first of the many connections back to last week's talk, right? Where we're talking about the Cielo Vista incident. Harmfulness came out of his delusions, out of his ignorance, right? He was ignorant and delusional, stuck in his own wrong view, and he did that. Is that going to lead him towards liberation? No, it won't. And it didn't. It did nothing, really, except hurt people. Right? So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about harmlessness versus harmfulness, right? If you're paying attention, if you're not being ignorant, if you are doing things according to a compassionate idea, you're not going to harm others. You're going to take a look at it, you're going to be aware of what's going on with them, and you're going to understand that, yeah, they're suffering too. And you don't want to increase that for yourself or for them. You don't want to increase that for anybody. That's why you practice harmlessness. Simple as that. So, going back, and I'm going with these in the order in which they are easy to do. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So next up we have goodwill and ill will. Ill will is defined by the Buddha in terms of things like the thoughts that you think when nobody can hear you, right? So maybe you go through life and you're at your job or you're at your unit and somebody really cheeses you off. The thoughts going through your head at that moment typically are probably ill will, right? They're gonna be angry, they're gonna be averse, they're gonna be aggressive. Somebody cheeses you off in your unit and you're gonna be like, oh, I hope that guy stubs his toe. We're gonna start there. I'm sorry, it was terrible. Let's do something better. I hope that guy smacks his head on something. Or I want to just clobber that guy in the face. That's ill will. But those are the thoughts that go through your head when you're thinking, when people do stuff like that, right? Ill will is counteracted by goodwill, and specifically, we're talking about things like loving kindness, which was what the Buddha basically said. If you want to counter ill will, you do it with goodwill, you do it with loving kindness, you do it with metta. And those of you who have seen more than a few of my sermons, if you haven't, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a whole bunch of them where I chant the Karaniya Metta, the Metta Karaniya Sutta, right? The discourse on loving kindness. Loving kindness is key, right? Because loving kindness is that selfless kind of quality that says, it's not about me. Ill will says, oh, it's totally about me. I want to punch this dude in the face. I hope this guy gets kicked in the nuts. I hope I, right? Loving kindness is selfless. It pushes the self totally out of the equation. And in doing so, builds the capacity for you to see what really is there, right? To really practice that care for them, that compassion, to really have that deep, powerful, non-ill will, that deep, powerful goodwill that says, I want what's not even I. Start off with, I want good things for them. And then take yourself out of that equation. Take out, I want good things for them. Think good things for them. Do good things for them. Show them that you're better than your ill will, than your natural tendencies to just want them to hurt. You don't want them to hurt, you want them to do well. You want them to succeed. You want them to be good people. You don't want them to hurt. You don't want them to get, smacked in the face. Because you're better than that. That's really why you do it. Because when you're practicing loving kindness, don't think you're better than that. Know you are. When you're really practicing loving kindness, when you're taking yourself out of the equation, there is only the goodwill. There's only that deep, selfless love. Obviously not easy to get to. Obviously takes a lot of practice, but it can be done, and it should be done. And if you're really serious about practicing right intent, you have to go about it with that goodwill, with that selfless kind of quality that the Buddha is talking about. Okay, now the last one, which is the most fun and also the least fun. So, all around us, everywhere you look, there's desire. You see it in the advertising, you see it in marketing, you see it in products, you see it on TV, you see it on the internet, you see it everywhere. It's so hard to escape desire. And most of us don't even want to. Right? Most people don't even want to get past desire. They're like, ooh, skimpy hot girl in this nice outfit. That's not the way to go, people. That's not the way to be. And yeah, I know, we all suffer from that. We all have that, we all have that quality about us that says, oh, I'd totally love to do her or him, either way. our brains are wired for that. But we're better than that, aren't we? We can do better than that. I've just said that we can. The Buddha said that we can, because the Buddha saw it in us. He saw our capacity to get over ill will. He saw our capacity to transcend desire. And you do that through renunciation. You don't do that through repression. You don't do like, well, I'm just going to push these urges down. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. Oh, no. It doesn't work. What does work is confronting them directly. Confronting those desires with renunciation, saying, I don't want that. I don't need that. Right? There are better things, right? The Buddha is, of course, not talking about becoming a monk, because he didn't want everybody to become monks in the first place, and he knew that not everybody had the capacity or the resources or the fortitude to do so. He knew that desire was still going to be a thing, and he knew that people were still going to have all these weird thoughts and be lustful and sensuous, and it's part of what people do. Those who wish to seek liberation, though, have to start challenging that. You have to challenge that on the inside and say, what does this do for me? What does this desire do for me? Is it useful? Is it skillful? Does it have any meaning? Right? And that's how you stop the repression. That's how you stop trying to hide from the desire. You say, let's look at the characteristics of this desire. What does it look like? What does it do? How does it operate? Obviously, this is painfully hard. This is incredibly, incredibly hard. You don't just wake up one day and suddenly, oh, well, I don't want anything like this or that, or I don't need, that fancy car. I don't need those cool clothes. You don't wake up and do that. You have to train yourself. You have to train yourself to say, what does this do to me? What is this doing? How does it operate, and why is it a thing? Why does this affect me, and why should I keep doing it or not doing it in this case? And then you look at it and you say, well, if I shouldn't be doing it, if I should be trying to get past it, why don't I? Because obviously the desire's not useful, not particularly skillful. And that guy keeps flying at my face. I'm not trying to kill him, I'm just trying to get him out. So, those are the qualities that make up right intention, right? You gotta try and get past your desires. You have to challenge your desires. You have to get past your ill will and supplant it, and build in its place goodwill. You have to get past harmfulness and ignorance, and you have to put in their place harmlessness based on compassion, right? So that's really what I wanted to go over today. And I know that I've kind of rambled on. I apologize that I have a habit of doing that. I'm trying to get better at it. Trying to be more aware of my words. But yeah. So next week we'll be moving into the so-called ethics or morality group. Starting with right speech. I think I've basically killed right intention for the time being. I hope you guys got something out of this. If not, by all means, let me know. Yay. I don't know what to say. I'm actually kind of tired. We probably shouldn't have gone on this long, but all right. I'm trying here, Donald Boots. I will leave you with goodwill. May your day be awesome. May you have the causes of happiness, and may you have happiness. May you have the causes of peace, and may you have peace. May you have the ability, the strength, and the courage to transcend those desires, to transcend and renounce the desires. And may you have harmlessness in your life. May you have compassion in your life. If not for me, because you will get it from me. If not just for me, and maybe somebody else too. Hopefully you have compassion from those around you. I'll leave you with that. This is my practice for right intention. I'm trying to do all these three things. Failing sometimes, but trying. How about you guys do the same?